The time Emus conquered Australia. After World War I, Australian soldiers returned home to find themselves facing new challenges, particularly with farming. Many veterans were given land to farm in Western Australia, which was part of a government scheme to resettle them. However, in 1932, these farmers were struck by a massive wave of emus, large flightless birds native to Australia, migrating inland due to drought. The emu population had exploded, and about 20,000 of these birds descended on the farmland. They trampled crops, damaged fences, and wreaked havoc on the farming communities, which were already struggling due to the Great Depression. The farmers, desperate and unable to control the emu invasion, turned to the government for help. In response, the Australian government decided to take military action. The Minister of Defence, Sir George Pearce, sent soldiers armed with Lewis machine guns to deal with the emu problem. This was no small task. The emus were fast, highly mobile, and surprisingly difficult to shoot. What followed was an extraordinary series of skirmishes between the soldiers and the emus that seemed almost comical in hindsight. The military's first attempt in November 1932 was a disaster. The emus moved in small, erratic groups, making it hard to get a clear shot. Even with machine guns, the soldiers found it nearly impossible to take down more than a handful at a time. After days of frustration, Major G.P.W. Meredith, who was in charge of the operation, reported that the emus had an extraordinary ability to dodge bullets, even likening them to tanks in their resilience. Over the course of the war, the soldiers used around 10,000 rounds of ammunition, but only managed to kill about 1,000 emus. The emu population remained strong and largely unaffected. Eventually, the operation was called off and the government withdrew its forces, having been outmaneuvered by birds. The emus won the Great Emu War. The farmers were left to deal with the futile problem on their own, and the Australian government later installed a bounty system to encourage local hunters to fruitlessly take on the emus.